Well, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we're about to start. Perhaps if we could got all seated, then I could start the proceedings proper. Thank you. Okay, if I might just briefly introduce myself. My name is Faiz Abdullah. They call me Dr. Faiz Abdullah. I am the Chairman and Chief Executive of a Malaysian think tank called the Institute of Strategic and International Studies. So on that note, I would like to express my profound appreciation to the organizers of ADF 2025 for this great privilege of being able to participate, and in this case to be the moderator for this event. I prepared some opening remarks, but surely I'm not the speaker or the discussant, so I'll be very brief. So, in an increasingly challenged and fragmented world, we face a spectrum of pressing challenges. From the delivery of public goods and supply chain resilience, to climate change, to the advancements of artificial intelligence, and now, of course, Trump tariffs 2.0. So there is a very clear and urgent need for resilient, functional structures and adaptive systems that will support sustainable and collaborative solutions. In this context, ASEAN mechanisms play an absolutely crucial role in fostering dialogue and confidence building, both that are essential for addressing global issues and reinforcing regionalism, multilateralism, and inter-regional cooperation. For instance, the current efforts to reinvigorate for example, the ASEAN Regional Forum, and of course the East Asia Summit. Now, these are very crucial so that they remain indispensable platforms for convening a diverse range of actors. They may have competing or rival interests, but nevertheless, they are key stakeholders in maintaining regional peace, and we must engage everyone. A healthy and robust discussion is therefore what the doctor ordered. ASEAN mechanisms have faced increasing scrutiny as well as criticism in recent years, particularly regarding the organization's challenges in managing internal divisions and crises within its own backyard. And nevertheless, ASEAN structures continue to serve as a vital enabler of regional connectivity and cooperation, and this is a key priority of Malaysia's ASEAN chairmanship. Having set the scene, we have three highly accomplished speakers, or to use the correct term, discussants, with us. They are, of course, on my left, Her Excellency, needs no introduction, of course, Beris Ekinci, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Turkey. We have His Excellency, Dato' Muhammad bin Alamin, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Malaysia. And we have Associate Professor Dr. Hatice Çelik from the Department of Asian Studies at Ankara Social Sciences University. Among the issues our speakers are expected to address will include regional stability, economic integration, alternative models of regional organizations, leveraging multilateral frameworks like AEC and RCEP, solutions to global issues, capacity building, and ASEAN synergies with related entities, such as, of course, the OTS, BRICS, and so on. There will be two questions for each speaker that I will pose one at a time. For time management, and speakers are reminded to keep the answer to each question not to exceed 6 minutes. I mean, they can do 5 minutes if they want. I've got a very bad reputation of being very strict with the time, so you have to be careful. This is important so that no speaker will be deprived the opportunity to answer their part sufficiently. So further, we of course need time that is most important for interactive participation for the Q&A. So on that note, let me pose the first question to His Excellency, in the capacity of Malaysia being the ASEAN Chair, Datuk Muhammad bin Alamin. The question is this: how can ASEAN enhance its role in promoting regional stability and economic integration in light of the evolving Asia-Pacific landscape? The floor is yours, Excellency.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Datuk Moderator. And first of all, I'd like to extend my gratitude and appreciation to the organizers of this Antalya Diplomacy Forum 2025 for hosting this very important forum. It is my honor to be one of the panelists of this session, together with my counterpart from Turkey, and Dr. Khatijah. It's good to know that you've been in Sabah before. And then I'm happy to see that the bilateral relation between Malaysia and Turkey has grown even stronger with the elevation to the comprehensive strategic partnership in July 2022. And last year, 2024, we just celebrated the 60th anniversary of the diplomatic relation between Malaysia and Turkey. And I believe the relation further reached new heights with the official visit by His Excellency Recep Tayyip Erdogan to Kuala Lumpur in last February. As the chair of ASEAN 2025, Malaysia is appreciative to Turkey's confidence and support towards our leadership of ASEAN and in the spirit of Malaysia Madani. Okay, we have Malaysia Madani as crafted by Yang Amat Berhormat, the Right Honourable Prime Minister, who had chosen the inclusivity and sustainability as the theme of the ASEAN 2025. And I believe that theme firmly resonates with the topic of this session today. Well, coming back to the question, ASEAN's role in ensuring the regional stability and driving economic integration has never been more critical. The Asia-Pacific is undergoing profound changes. Now the world is witnessing the geopolitical challenges, and competition is very high, and the economic disturbance, economic uncertainties persist, and the emerging security threats are becoming more complex. And then we have, as the ASEAN chair of this year, we have a pivotal role to play in steering ASEAN in this challenging era. And inshallah, we will reinforce our relevance and leadership in the region. And I believe that ASEAN should take the following approach. So the first approach that I'm going to elaborate is a bit longer. Mr. Moderator, can you give more time for me?
Sorry, there's no injury time here yet.
Okay.
But you do have 2.5 minutes. Okay. There'll be another round of questions, but you can pick it up later.
The first approach, ASEAN must strengthen its centrality and credibility as they are a key platform for the regional affairs. For decades, we know that ASEAN has been a stabilizing force, providing neutral and inclusive space for dialogue. But in today's fast evolving geopolitical landscape, especially amidst increasing rivalry between major powers, ASEAN must do more to reaffirm its role We must ensure that our mechanisms such as Mentoring mentioned just now, East Asia Summit, the ASEAN Regional Forum has to remain effective in addressing a myriad of security concerns. At the same time, ASEAN's external engagement must reinforce and not dilute its unity and autonomy. Engaging with external partners is essential, but we must do so on our terms. We must do so on our terms, ensuring that ASEAN at the center of reshaping the regional dynamics rather than being shaped by external forces. Second, what we should do is, ASEAN must accelerate economic integration to enhance regional resilience and competitiveness. The global economic landscape is shifting with supply chain disruption, rising protectionism, rapid technological advancement reshaping trade and investment ecosystem and pattern. The third one is to navigate ASEAN.
You have 30 seconds to finish that, sir.
Right.
Yes.
Last point. The third one is to navigate this, ASEAN must deepen intra-regional trade and investment, strengthen supply chain connectivity, and embrace digital transformation. These steps will not only position ASEAN as a key economy hub, but also cushion us against external shocks and disruptions. Thank you, Moderator.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Excellency Alamin. Though it was short and I pushed you, there have been very substantive points that we will discuss later. I could just briefly take out and abstract 2 or 3 things here. Indeed, there's no question the importance of ASEAN theme of sustainability and inclusivity, and the pivotal role that is to be played in relation to the chair. And most importantly, you have spoken about the civilizing force, which is crucial, and there is no denying of the need for economic and other forms of integration. On that note, it is my great pleasure now to call upon Her Excellency Barrister Akinje to present her views. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I mean, it's a great pleasure for me and an honor to be among the panelists here, and also to welcome you all to Antalya. I would like just to say also a couple of words about, with regards, I mean, to Turkey-ASEAN relations. As many of you do know, Turkey maintains a strong will to further deepen and broaden the scope of her relationship with ASEAN partners, which had started as well, I mean, in its 6th year of her Asia Anew initiative. ASEAN has a unique place in this geography as a successful integration model. And with Asia-Pacific region becoming a strategic center in international affairs, ASEAN is getting stronger on its own terms and pace and increasing its role of centrality. Turkey recognizes ASEAN's central role in the Asia-Pacific and views Southeast Asian countries as key dialogue and implementation partners in peace, security, and development. We are working towards diversifying our dialogue and cooperation with ASEAN and its member states on the basis of common principles and shared objectives. Since her initial decision in 1999 to establish institutional ties, Turkey has always kept momentum in her relations with ASEAN. Accession to ASEAN Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in 2010, accreditation of the ambassador in Jakarta to ASEAN, establishment of sectoral dialogue partnership in 2017, Turkish Grand National Assembly's observer status in the ASEAN Interparliamentary Assembly in 2023, becoming an observer to ASEAN Defense Ministers Plus meetings this year, have been important milestones of Turkey-ASEAN relationship. With a view to take our relationship further, we submitted a formal application to become a dialogue partner in 2024. ASEAN has much to talk about its slow but steady progress in integrating its 10 member countries that are so vastly different from each other in stages of economic development, political systems, legal traditions, and ethnic and cultural background. However, using regionalism for globalization, in other terms, the ASEAN way, largely underpins its resilience and popularity. ASEAN is influential because it has succeeded in developing a sense of shared values and accepted procedures. It has promoted informal and non-binding institutional models governed by consensus decision-making. As ASEAN steers through the numerous challenges in an evolving landscape of the Asia-Pacific, its future role should center on aspiring to be the voice of the region and Asia, promoting regional stability by establishing or making functional relevant mechanisms, bolstering economic integration, and pioneering multilateralism globally. I would like to stop here. Thank you.
That was what we call a short and sweet. You actually have 2 more minutes, but it's good to yield the time sometimes. You have basically covered, if I may just summarize, first of all, the very importance of Turkey-ASEAN relations and enhancing dialogue on common principles and shared objectives. It is also crucial that you mentioned 2024, having the submission to be a dialogue partner. I think that is very significant, and also it cannot be dismissed the importance, or we call the primacy of consensus building in decision making. On that note, I have since the 2 discussants earlier have covered some of the major ground, I have a new question to be posed to Dr. Khatijah Celik. The question is this, if you just give me a second. Now, the question is, can ASEAN serve, in this case, and leverage the frameworks like, for example, the ASEAN Economic Community, AEC, and of course the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, which is known as the RCEP, of course, supposedly the largest FTA in the world. How does that influence regional and global trends?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, moderators, for the question. And let me first thank to the Minister of Foreign Affairs for having me and inviting me as a speaker in this panel. And as an academic, I might not be very well with the time management, so please do not hesitate to intervene because, you know, like we are quite used to speak long in the courses, so I will do my best to answer the question.
You can be sure about that, yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I think we all agree that the current international system, or let's say the current, liberal international system is putting a lot of pressures on each countries and also each regional organizations, and ASEAN is definitely one of them because especially as the first 2 speakers rightly mentioned, the major powers, the Chinese and the Americans' competition in the Southeast Asia region is putting an immense pressure on the Southeast Asian, the ASEAN itself. So starting from this kind of like the major power competition, we have to focus more on the regional organizations and their capacities to intervene, or let's say to kind of like further develop the relations, both in terms of the economic relations and also the political relations. So as you mentioned in your question, the regional comprehensive economic partnership, it's one of the most important economic cooperation mechanisms within the Southeast Asia and also in Asia in general, because we all know that the regional comprehensive economic partnership became the biggest multilateral trade agreement after the US withdrawal in 2017 under the first Trump administration. And the current, let's say, pressures regarding under again the Trump administration, the tariffs and the increasing tariff barriers is also making the RCEP a very important mechanism because it's making the Southeast Asian nations and Asian nations who are part of this a very big, let's say, trade agreement, a very important because regarding the negotiation process, the RCEP, if you all remember those days, we have seen that ASEAN has played a very great role regarding this negotiation process. And definitely bringing this trade agreement into a conclusion further enhanced the negotiation capacity of ASEAN itself. And starting from there, it also contributed to the norm creation capacity of ASEAN, because currently, I mean, regarding all these economic cooperation mechanisms, ASEAN has showed itself that it's also able to come together many countries, bring together many countries, and make it able to turn into an agreement. So from this perspective, ASEAN is doing a lot of great things at the intra-region level. And to continue with the other levels, like let me put it in this way. The ASEAN is, we can look to ASEAN from three perspectives, or let's say three levels. The first is the intra-region, and the second is inter-regional level, and the third is maybe beyond the region, and maybe better call it the trans-regional perspective. So in the intra-region level, ASEAN is also, I mean, usually doing, of course, there are some shortcomings between the countries, but, or let's say some problems, but it's still doing great at the intra-regional level. And regarding the inter-regional level, and if we consider the East Asia as a kind of like sub-region of Asia, and as you mentioned, the ASEAN Regional Forum and also East Asia Summit is also, can be considered as the inter-regional levels. And also from the trans-regional perspective, regarding the ASEAN relations with the European Union and also Europe and some other international organizations, it's also trying to bring together many intergovernmental organizations to cooperate more at the economic level.
You don't have to end yet. You still have 1.5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm done.
You're done?
Yeah,
That's good.
thank you.
Yeah. Probably I've been too strict. Everybody's, agreeing to cut short. You're allowed not to exceed 6 minutes. Yes. Anyway, on that note, it's very good. I think it's quite important that you mentioned the propensity in relation to the benefit of RCEP, that ASEAN therefore increases its capacity in negotiation. Because it is true, right now we are number 5 in terms of ASEAN as an economic entity, and very soon going to be number 4. So this increasing problem with tariffs Trump 2.0 is very relevant. It's also quite interesting that you looked at the 3 levels of assessing the significance and possibly the so-called bargaining power on how we've looked at ASEAN as a group. So on that note, I think I have to move on now to Excellency Alamin again. Now you are presented. You can pick up from where you stopped, but I have a particular question for you in relation to the second portion. It is also not very much different from the earlier one, but the only thing is that we are specifically looking at this. And my question is this, Excellency. What are the possible roles of ASEAN's institutions in finding solutions to global issues? For example, promoting peace and enhancing effective multilateralism. Thank you.
Before answering this question, in addition to what I have said earlier on, in order to strengthen ASEAN economic resilience and competitiveness, ASEAN should also forge and expand its partnership with those beyond our borders. For this reason, Malaysia will convene the second ASEAN GCC Summit, as well as ASEAN GCC China Summit in Kuala Lumpur this year. And as an open trading nation, Malaysia deems the unilateral decision on reciprocal tariff as a major threat to the current global trade and investment system, as it constitutes a rejection of the principle of free, non-discriminatory, predictable and open trade under the WTO. Notwithstanding, Malaysia, as reminded by our Prime Minister, will not introduce retaliatory tariff, and we have to be calm, firm, and guided by the Malaysia's strategic interests. Our goal is very clear. We are fully committed to securing a favorable resolution. And coming back to the second questions, the ASEAN institution role, the ASEAN institution play a crucial role in addressing global challenges by fostering dialogue, promoting peace, and strengthening multilateralism. Platforms like ASEAN Regional Forum, East Asia Summit, ASEAN Plus 3, is very, very important mechanism as it facilitates discussion on the security and economic stability, reinforces ASEAN's commitment, and also the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation reinforces ASEAN's commitment to peaceful dispute resolution and international law. In promoting peace and security, ASEAN initiative like ASEAN Institute for Peace and Reconciliation and ASEAN Coordinating Center for Humanitarian Assistance support conflict prevention, crisis management, disaster response, and ASEAN's effort in counter-terrorism and cybersecurity further contribute to regional and global stability. By upholding multilateralism, ASEAN fosters regional cooperation and engages major powers through initiatives like the ASEAN Outlook on the Indo-Pacific, through strategic partnership and diplomatic leadership. ASEAN continues to shape a stable, rules-based international order while addressing global challenges. As ASEAN acts as a catalyst for peace and development in the region, major powers must also play a complementing role as stabilizing forces. This is in support of ASEAN centrality and the regional security architecture. Let me now touch on some of the regional and international issues of common concern. On Myanmar issue, as a close neighbor and member of ASEAN, Malaysia continues to advocate for peace and stability, which are essential for progress and prosperity of all in this region. Malaysia reaffirms the strong support for Myanmar's democratic transition, peace process, and inclusive economic development. As for the recent earthquake that happened in Myanmar, Thailand and Malaysia, the ASEAN chair, announced an agreement to coordinate with Myanmar on the delivery of international aid with the ASEAN Coordinating Center for Humanitarian Assistance on Disaster Management. For Malaysia, we have deployed a team, smart team, to conduct search and rescue operation in Myanmar. And earlier this month, our Foreign Minister, Datuk Sri Utama Muhammad Haji Hassan, led an ASEAN humanitarian mission and handed over humanitarian aid for the affected people of Myanmar because of the earthquake. And our Prime Minister, Ibrahim, has announced a contribution of 10 million ringgit for the Myanmar people because of the earthquake. And on Palestine issue, ASEAN reaffirms its long-standing support for the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people, including the rights to self-determination and to their homeland. ASEAN continues to call on the international community to ensure respect for the international law, the international humanitarian and human rights law. We also urge all parties concerned to engage in a meaningful dialogue to achieve a comprehensive and peaceful resolution to the long-standing conflict based on the two-state solution in accordance with international law and the relevant UNEC and UNGA resolutions.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt. You may want to pick up your other points during Q&A. I think you have covered extensive ground, Excellency.
Thank you so much.
There's no need to worry about that. If a quick summary for whatever it's worth, given the time that I have, you have touched on very clearly in relation to some of the key areas that ASEAN is playing, especially the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation, which seems to have been disregarded and ignored of late. It's quite crucial that you pointed out on areas of counterterrorism and also touch on Indo-Pacific, and of course, of great importance, Myanmar and the Palestinian issue. On that note, it is my honored to now present the second question to Her Excellency, Peri Sekinci. And the question is quite simple. How can ASEAN engage with its partners? And how can these partners contribute to its capacity building initiatives in a fragmented world? Excellency, you mentioned just now that Turkey has actually applied 2024 to be a dialogue partner. So perhaps in this context, you could relate your answer to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. ASEAN's partners, we believe, can play a vital role in this process by offering support for capacity building initiatives, sharing best practices, and facilitating dialogue on common challenges. Joint projects focused on sustainable development and crisis response can reinforce ASEAN's position as a key player in the Asia-Pacific. Turkey, with her expertise and abilities, has a lot to offer in capacity building, disaster relief management, maritime safety, and security areas. Actually, there are 14 sectoral projects that are underway between Turkey and ASEAN this year. And imagine what we could do if and when we become a dialogue partner with ASEAN. Full engagement with partners will only carry ASEAN forward. And also, we believe that enhancing ASEAN's contributions to global and regional issues requires a proactive and coordinated stance on crucial challenges such as climate change, trade disputes, and security threats. By engaging more deeply with its partners, ASEAN can mobilize resources and expertise, creating a cohesive response to these issues. Turkey has been in dialogue and cooperation with ASEAN institutions in areas, as I have mentioned, such as disaster relief, security, mediation, and these institutions need to be further mobilized to become more relevant, not only regionally, but globally. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. I think I was praying that you would not be actually telling me the actual 14 sectoral projects that could possibly take half an hour, although it is very important. I think it's quite crucial that we realize that the relationship being built between Turkey and ASEAN, even though it has not reached that stage, is one that is well structured and substantive. I think this bodes very well. And I think it's quite crucial that you mentioned about cohesiveness. Cohesiveness in response is one of the major issues that is facing ASEAN, though that is not part of the central question being here. I now speak as a member of the eminent persons for the ASEAN in relation to the regional forum, where we have emphasized a lot on cohesiveness to reflect the centrality. There's always talk of centrality, but if there's no cohesiveness, since you mentioned that, I think it's quite crucial, and that would add to the overall of the unity of ASEAN. So on that note, perhaps I could deal now with the final question for Dr. Tija, and it is quite related to the earliest question. Perhaps, I think it was a note that you mentioned earlier, if you would want to take up on in relation to the other areas apart from ASEAN. I think I mentioned earlier about in relation, for example, to the OTS and the other parts apart from ASEAN. Perhaps on that score, it would help us all if you could enlighten how could this other organizations synergize with ASEAN as a rule and to promote the question of centrality. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think a little back, going back to the first question and the continuation with the answer, I think we have to first accept that each region is unique within itself. So each regional organization has to reflect the cultural identity, the geopolitical conditions, and the historical conditions under which this regional organization has been set up or has been founded. So if you remember that if you remember the historical conditions, or let's say the political turmoils within the Southeast Asia when ASEAN was established, we have to first really appreciate that ASEAN is a great success story because it was not a very convenient time in Southeast Asia to establish, or let's say to found a regional grouping. But itself, I mean, this success itself is showing that ASEAN is a very successful example in showing other regions that it's possible even under the a very harsh conditions, or let's say very inconvenient conditions, that each region actually has the capacity to establish its own regional grouping or organizations. So going, from this point, we can further argue that ASEAN can actually serve as a kind of alternative model to other regional groupings or regional organizations too, in showing that it's quite, although it's difficult, it can be possible for each regional countries to come together and solve their internal problems, or let's say bilateral problems, and continue to serve as a regional grouping or regional organizations. So from this perspective, actually, in the international relations or area studies, usually the European Union is shown as a kind of success story and as the ideal model of regional organization. But actually, although to some extent I agree with this view, but we have to also appreciate the success of ASEAN, and we have to maybe focus more on ASEAN in this perspective, saying that it can be also a very good alternative model in comparison with the Western regional organizations to other regional organizations in general. Thank you.
I have an addendum to that question, which I didn't mention to your question, particularly in reference to BRICS. Could you just shed some light in relation to how ASEAN could synergize in relation to BRICS, for example? Malaysia is very keen on that. Perhaps in the context of what you said just now, could you extend to that discussion, please?
Yeah, sure. Actually, in the first part of the question that I would like to also add some, ASEAN is not only its member states, but also it's having deep relations with other regional, let's say, actors and powers. Let me also give a reference to one of the distinguished Southeast Asian scholars, Professor Amitav Acharya. He is saying that the ASEAN is not only, ASEAN is not doing bandwagoning or hedging or anything else, but it's doing co-engagement, which means that ASEAN is trying to co-engage with all the powers or all the actors within the region, because choosing a side, or let's say choosing one of the major powers within the region, would not definitely bring a lot of opportunities, but actually bring lots of more pressures and more problems for ASEAN. But as you mentioned, BRICS and etc., ASEAN is already co-engaging with almost all actors or countries who is part of BRICS and some other similar organizations. So in this sense, ASEAN can contribute through its, let's say, both intra-regional or, let's say, trans-regional networks and also relations to such groupings or organizations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hatija. We have come to the end of the second part. The third part, and there's a fourth part. The fourth part will be each discussant will be given 2 minutes to sum up and make their concluding remarks. But before that, we do have an interactive session. Please feel free at this point in time to raise any questions to any of the discussants that you feel that you can even raise it to me, but even though I'm not discussant, I will know how to direct the questions to the relevant people. Please, the floor is open. Would you raise your hand, and if you want to have anything to say or you wish to raise a question. Yes, please, gentlemen. Yes, we've got. Will there be a mic? Yes, please. If you could perhaps introduce yourself and identify where you're from. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. This is Professor Ali Mertan Dünrar. I'm the Director of Asia Pacific Research Center of Ankara University. I would like to ask His Excellency Mohammed bin Alamin. Yeah, we know that the water is getting warm in the East Asia, let me say. So is there any planning, or is there any, how can I say, to establish an ASEAN army like NATO? Or, I mean, we know that beginning from 2006, the defense minister are making meetings. But is there any, I mean, possibility or planning about this issue? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very succinct question. Perhaps we can, if there are other questions, we can take those questions Okay, there's another question coming. Yes, please.
Excellencies and colleagues, Ambassador of Thailand to Ankara. I am interested in what our moderator has mentioned, and I am keen to listen more about the possibility of the cooperation between OTS, Organizations of Turkic States, and ASEAN. As I know personally, Ambassador Omar Aliyev, our good friend and Secretary General of the Organization of Turkic States, I understand that there are talks between the two organizations, between our ASEAN and OTS, and I would love to learn more. Thank you.
I'm sorry, is that question directed to me or to...
To anyone.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe
thank you.
to
Yes.
possibly to the to Madam Deputy.
Yeah, I
Foreign
suppose since
Minister.
it's talking about OTS.
OTS.
Okay, maybe we have time for one more questions before the discussants deal with them. Is there anyone here who would like to raise a question? Yes, yes, please, madam.
I'm the Director General for Asia Pacific Turkish Foreign Ministry, Esra Cankur. I actually wanted to ask more or less the same question with the Thai ambassador, but in a different way, because we were talking about the engagement of ASEAN with different regional organizations, and Turkic Organization of Turkic States is actually one of them, hopefully. I was going to ask whether Malaysia, because there's some time that the Turkic Organization of Turkic States wishes to establish an organizational relationship with ASEAN. So could we see any improvement in that during the ASEAN, Malaysia-ASEAN presidency? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Perhaps on that score, I'll let Excellency Alamin deal with the first question so that we have some continuity, and Her Excellency will deal with the second, and you could follow through, perhaps. Yes, over to you.
Thank you so much for the question posed to me. One of the pillars of our priority in ASEAN is political security. Political security. We have to make sure and we have to deal with all the issues related to the security with care. The ASEAN member states have 10 member states. And most of them, maritime in nature. So what is important for us is to make sure the security of the ASEAN. And to have an ASEAN army, I think it's something that we need to look into very, very carefully. But in terms of security, defense, we have a very good collaboration and cooperation. Like with Turkey, Malaysia have a very strong collaboration, very strong cooperation in defense. Indonesia also, and some of Thailand also, and we have regular exercise of the joint training among our army within ASEAN. So our focus is to make sure that the ASEAN region is safe and secure. So our security of ASEAN is very, very important to us. It's going to be our focus for this year. We know that there is some outstanding issues which sometimes people might see. It will affect the security in the ASEAN. For example, the South China Sea issue. Sometimes, there's Chinese Coast Guard issue. They said trespass out to the water of certain country. But we have to deal with care. We have a certain mechanism how to deal with this issue. We have a joint working group to look into this issue. And with the ASEAN and China, for example, Malaysia is a coordinating country. And we are the co-chair with China. And we have a joint working group to have a regular meeting. We have introduced Declaration of Conduct, DOC, and we have come up with the COC, Code of Conduct. This is something that we are still discussing, and we are in the process of finalization of the COC. We have a regular meeting, and the latest meeting was held in Jakarta, Indonesia. It's to finalize the COC. What is COC is all about? It's to protect the security of our water on the maritime border. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now may I ask Excellency Aris to deal with the second question.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Of course, we would like very much, to see an organic relationship between ASEAN and OTS. And I believe that this relationship can create an important synergy, and which would be benefiting, all in the region, both in the Central Asia, the Turkic states, and as well as, the Asia-Pacific region. And also, especially, when the Deputy Minister has mentioned, connectivity being one of the priorities of Malaysia's ASEAN's, during Malaysia's ASEAN's chairship, connectivity is as well a very important issue when it comes, to the OTS geography as well. And when we talk about connectivity today, it includes energy, it includes transport, it includes digitalization, communication. So all of those issues can be important sectors for cooperation between ASEAN and OTS, and also between the countries, the member countries of OTS and ASEAN. So we believe that it can really have a multiplier effect in the cooperation in the area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Minister Alamin, would you like to add on to that, or you think that is us? Thank you.
To give my
Not yet.
Oh.
Not yet. I thought, Dr. Hatija, you wanted to say something? If not, well, we're in very good time. Are there any other questions to the fore? Oh, yes, please, madam. Yes.
Thank you very much. Head of Department in the MFA for Asia Multilateral. Asian geopolitics recently is highly dominated by the US-imposed tariffs, which are very high and which hardly hit the ASEAN region, I'm afraid. Will there be a ASEAN response to that, or do you think will the countries try to handle it by themselves? Thank you so much.
So I believe this question obviously goes to Mr. Alamin.
As I mentioned earlier on, that the reciprocal tariff is not only for Malaysia, but all over the world, every country, including the ASEAN member state also. But for the ASEAN perspective, last few days, there was a meeting among the ASEAN economic ministers. And they have issued their joint statement. Okay, among the things mentioned in the statement that we are going to do the negotiation. Okay, we won't introduce any retaliatory tariff. So I think this is our way. It's a high time for ASEAN to diversify the market, not only relying on the US market. We have Turkey as a sectoral dialogue partner of ASEAN. As I mentioned, we have GCC, we have GCC, China, we have BRICS also. I think we need to diversify our market for the trade and investment. So I think for ASEAN perspective, we are remain calm at this moment, and our minister, that is exactly, will be going to Washington end of the month to start the negotiation of the reciprocal tariff. But at the moment, I think every country is trying to have positive negotiation with the US. Turkey also got 10%. Among the members, the highest, I think, is Cambodia, if I'm not mistaken. So I think there's something that we need to look into together. But whatever decision by the ASEAN, it has to be done by consultation and consensus. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very apt to the answer. If there are no any other contributions, no many more questions, I'd like to bring this to a 1-minute concluding remarks, perhaps starting with Excellency Beris Ekenci.
Thank you. Turkey attaches great importance to multilateralism. and fostering multilateralism to counter regional and global issues is of paramount importance. Seeking collective response where possible, proactive engagement based on mutual respect and based on mutual benefits on different issues such as sustainable development, crisis response will only strengthen us all. Thank you very much. And I would like to take this opportunity, I didn't do it in the beginning, to congratulate and also extend our best wishes to Malaysia for their chairship for ASEAN. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Perhaps now the second concluding remarks. Mr. Alamin.
10 member states of ASEAN, we have come up with the so-called target. What is our target of ASEAN? Not only based on the 3 pillars, political security, the second pillar is economy, and the third pillar is social culture. But we have put a target. By the year of 2030, we are going to be the 4th largest economic bloc in the world. But how to navigate that? How to achieve that? We get to be strong, we get to be united, and we have to do everything within the framework of ASEAN based on the consultation and consensus. That is called the ASEAN way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Perhaps now Dr. Hatijah.
Thank you. I think ASEAN can contribute to the global issues more through its multilateral and trans-regional networks and channels, because I think ASEAN has the capacity and the ability to do that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. On that note, I would like to thank Her Excellency, Dari Sekenji, His Excellency Dr. Muhammad Alamin, Associate Professor Dr. Hatijah, for a very spirited participation in this and all of us. Shall we give them a big round of applause, please?
Oh, that's sweet, yes.